Good morning, friends. Yes, I know you've been seeing lots of me live, but I do feel like there are some very timely things that I can share with you from, walking a mile in your moccasins. And I do feel like, during this time we get to rally together. And so while social media has not shut down, grocery stores may have had limited hours and lots of other places may have been closed and restaurants and whatnot are only available for takeout. I know that one, the newscasters are working around the clock, and two, social media is open all day long. So I want to share something with you because I heard a great sermon from Stephen Furtick this past weekend, and he said, while we're all weathering the same storm, we're not all riding in the same boat. And I think that's so powerful, and it's such a reminder because every single one of us is in a different situation around this crazy corona craze, right? And so we're not calling it a crisis, but we do know that in Chinese, the two characters that make up the word crisis are one, danger, and two, opportunity. And so I want to share something with you that I've written today, and I'm just going to read from it. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a what you would hear in a coffee shop, perhaps, where somebody comes in and does a poetry reading or something, although not poetic. I just really felt like this was on my heart to serve somebody today because I've heard literally over the last 2 weeks of people being let go from jobs, people trying to pivot and figure out what's next for them. And so I'm just going to read something for you. And it's from John Acuff. The first part of this is from John Acuff. And I don't know if you know him. He's a Christian author and comedian. He's just awesome. He's a speaker. I just love him. And he says, when you come to your dream job, your thing, it's rarely a first encounter. It's usually a reunion. And that was from his book, Quitter. And he has great book titles. He has Start, Finish, Quitter. But this book in particular, I read last year. And it's all about not quitting your day job, until you have your dream job. And in this quote, of course, I think it's so powerful because he says it's usually not the first time you've ever experienced this. It's usually a reunion of something. And so I'm going to continue reading. The writing was on the wall. The company was restructuring and my name was among the list of associates that would soon be eliminated. With less than 6 months tenure, I was the newest kid on the block, so I thought for sure I would be first on the list to go. The first round came right before the holidays. I was spared, however, my heart ached for the team that had been let go. I felt survivor's guilt as this crew had been there much longer than me. The C-suite was strategic and tactful. They explained that they were keeping personnel with specific backgrounds and field-related work experiences to ensure the highest success for the future of the business. I was not one of those people. I didn't have a formal marketing degree nor experience in the related industry, but as God has routinely proven his providence time and time again, he divinely blessed me. My background was in education, 20 plus years as a teacher, and then a professional educational administrator. But by God's grace, I landed this awesome multifaceted job as a project manager and special events coordinator at an 8-figure company. Now, you should know I wasn't a complete rookie at these duties and tasks that I had been assigned in this role. I had experience with special projects my entire life. I grew up in an immigrant family raised by a village of loud, vino-drinking, garlic-smelling, pasta-eating Italians, so every Sunday supper was more like a wedding reception than an intimate family meal. Then for over a dozen years, I managed 20 little humans in a classroom, which often seemed more like I was herding cats. I guess you could say that special projects and events was kind of my specialty. Pair these life experiences with my nature, I'm a strong 7 on an Enneagram test, with many characteristics of a 6 and an 8. I was well equipped for the varied duties I was involved in over the last 6 months. Note, if you haven't a clue what an Enneagram is, I encourage you to go and take it. Let me tell you, I loved this job. I worked with amazing people, learned new things daily, traveled to fun places, and experienced cool events, all while utilizing a myriad of my best talents and skills along with my personal interest. It truly was a win-win. So to have it all disappear was quite saddening at first. You know that commercial for insurance where they show 2 completely different scenarios, yet the script for each is the same? The young girl gets a brand new car for her 16th birthday and shrieks, "My car!" The businessman stands watching his car get towed away in the pouring rain and exclaims, "My car!" That's kind of how I felt. Well, like the teenage girl. For some, the simple 2-word phrase, "now what?" can elicit fear, worry, doubt, and pessimism. Well, now what can incite excitement, joy, curiosity, wonderment, and optimism for others. I chose the latter. I decided that I get to, not have to, determine what's next. Now, not going to lie, friend, Fear has creeped in a number of times and I've lost sleep, but I continually make a deliberate choice to flip the switch and fix my focus on the opportunities that await rather than the fear that can send me into a tailspin. So I just read to you a little bit from my book, From Your Fire to That Girl's on Fire. And while of course, it sounds like I'm plugging this, I really just feel like the stuff that's in here is so timely for people who perhaps are making a transition in life. And right now, our world is full of change. Our world is full of transitions. And so in this book, I talk about 7 different steps, and that is one of them right there. Good morning, friends. Everybody's tuning in. And tell me what transition you're in right now. I'd love to hear, 1, I'd love to hear what you're transitioning through. 2, I'd love to hear how I can support you and how I can be praying for you. You know, the more specific your prayers are, the better that God can answer them, right? If you just say, oh, I pray for peace. Well, that's not very specific. If you're praying for peace in someone's family, in someone's heart, over someone's worry, like if you pray for specifically for a person by name and a specific reason, it's going to really dial into heaven a lot better. So I just read to you from, like I said, the excerpt is chapter 1, and that's Hone and Zone, is, really thinking about what's next. That can elicit fear and worry and doubt for some people. Or for some people, it can be exciting, like, what's next? I get to do whatever I want to do. I get to go ahead and move forward. And so while this might seem like a little plug, and it is, I know you can't get this via Amazon because they're not delivering books for a couple weeks. You can download it on Kindle. And you guys, it is literally like a 30-minute read. Literally. But there are 7 chapters, and every chapter in typical Franny Foltz fashion has little exercises where you get to go through and write in your responses. And so like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I had a friend who read this with her kids because they're all going through transitions, working from home, having newfound responsibilities and chores. And she was like, this was so powerful for my kids. They're 7th and 8th grade respectively. And she said it gave them like such perspective. And she said they started really thinking like, who is somebody who I follow? Because I talk about in here a sensei. A sensei is not a martial arts teacher. A sensei in the Japanese translation is a person who has gone before. And so there's somebody who's gone before you, who's walked through a mile in your moccasins. There's somebody who's been let go from their job. There's somebody who can come alongside of you and help you and show you a new way. And so that's what this book is designed to do. So if I had a cure for Corona, I would tell everybody about it. And while this is certainly not a cure for Corona, it is certainly hopefully, a helper or support to someone who is going through a transition right now. And y'all, we are all going through some major transitions. So especially if you know somebody who has been fired, a lot of the things that I talk about and some of the emotions that I talk about in here, whether it be fear or, oh my gosh, now what? That can certainly help someone to, one, say, you're not alone. It's like someone's holding their hand alongside of them saying, you know what, you've got this. You've got this. And so I would encourage you, as you're going through this time of transition, one is fix your focus. I go on right after that in that next part, and I talk about how one of my favorite pastors is John Gray, and I say, page 5, one of my favorite pastors, John Gray, suggests that we mustn't let fear ever get so high that we're staring at it face to face. Instead, we must face our fears. It must be below us, not at eye level. This is a constant renewal of our mind, which is Romans 12:2, and a true test. I don't have that in there. And that was a bonus. And a true test to believe my daily mantra, something good is going to happen to me and through me today. And my dear friend Kristen gave me, and I don't have it up because I'm in the middle of transitioning and moving, but something good is going to happen. Something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And I would read that on my wall and I would say, something wonderful is going to happen to me and through me today. Because I wake up and I pray to be a blessing. And every single one of us who is watching this, reading this book, going through a transition, you have the power and the opportunity to be a blessing, right? I hate when people take this on themselves and they just say, well, it is what it is. No, that is like the victim mentality. That is just allowing your circumstances to rule you and reign over you rather than saying it is what it is, but I get to choose what I make of it, right? You get to have that next portion. You get to have that next statement. You get to choose. You're not going to be able to choose if you get Corona or if you get let go from your job. But you get to say, great, what's next, with excitement and anticipation and wonderment and curiosity. And just like I read in the very beginning of this, you get to be reunited. John Acuff's quote, just to remind you guys, when you come to your dream job, your thing, It's rarely a first encounter. It's usually a reunion. So I would encourage you to think about, like, and in this book, I have you guys go back and I say, what were the things you did when you were 2 or 3 and 4 years old? Like, were you playing with Legos? Were you reading books? Were you playing with dolls? Like, were you that caregiver, that nurse? Like, and you've always wanted to do that, but maybe you didn't have the finances, or you didn't have something that was holding you back, or somebody had told you something, a limiting belief. So I just hope and pray that people use this as an opportunity, one, for serving others, and then 2, to really like hone in and zone. That first chapter is called Hone and Zone, y'all. Like, hone in on what it is you want, zone in on what you want, and go for it, right? I know that it sounds it's easier said than done, but remember, it's simple, but it's not easy, but I can guarantee you it's worth it. So I'd love to hear from you. If you've read the book, please let me know. Please, of course, go on to Amazon and, share a little bit about that. But also, I just would love to know, like, what you're transitioning through right now. Put it in the notes below. Share with me how I can pray for you. Share with me how I can help and support you, and be like, hey, in chapter 4, do this, or here's a question or one of the exercises from the book. The book is filled with exercises. Every single chapter has at least 5 or 6 questions for you to walk through. It's like a workbook, right? And remember that things don't work unless you do. So information is nothing unless it's revelation through application. That's a Joyce Meyer. Somewhat. I kind of Franny falsified it. So love you guys. Hope you're having a great day. Share this with friends, especially if you know somebody who's going through transitions. Remember, transitions are meaningful and manageable. They're meaningful because they create you. They help you develop who you are. They help you develop character. In times of crisis, that's where our character is revealed. And they're manageable. You have the power to manage them. Don't give, yourself over to the circumstance. Take control of how you're responding to them. Love you guys. Have a great day, and weigh in. Let me know. Share with friends. Subscribe on all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Go on and share the shine. Love you guys. Have a great day.